We'll try. Call a meeting to order, please. Is the mic on? Is TV on? They got this going?
Yep, I think
I can see me.
I just didn't hear. Yeah, I guess it's on. All right, everybody have a chance to take a look at the minutes.
move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Discussion and possible action on claims.
Claims this evening are $539,224.50.
Move to approve the claims.
Second.
Motion second to approve. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Claims are approved. Discussion and possible action on operators licenses.
Tonight, you're asked to recommend approval of 5 regular operator licenses that are on file in the city clerk's office, contingent on payment of any outstanding debt owed to the city and successful completion of the background check for the period October 3rd, 2017 to June 30th, 2019.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on letter of engagement for Hanley Road Engineering Services. Tom?
Thank you. We're at that point in the year where staff takes a look at streets and particularly what we want to look at for next year. We've done this last few years in a row, so we're looking at the 2018 street improvement project. And in so doing, we look at various things. We look at the city streets, bituminous surface condition, concrete curb condition, some general complaints, traffic volumes, and other items, and obviously budget is one of the other things. We reviewed this information last week on the 26th with the Public Works Committee, and the staff and the Public Works Committee is recommending that for our 2018 project, we do a mill and overlay on Hanley Road, and that would be from Carmichael Road up to just east of where Heritage Boulevard comes in. And as you can see in your issue sheet, we have that broken down into 2 segments. The first stretch from Carmichael up to the O'Neill going south into the business park would be a mill and overlay with 100% curb replacement. So it'd be real similar to what you saw on Grandview Drive this summer. From that point, which is O'Neill Road South to Heritage, we would be doing a mill and overlay with spot curb repairs. If the project is so ordered, one of the first things we would do is get core samples to evaluate that approach, make sure that's the correct approach, and we'd also do a field review of that curb and gutter to determine, is that spot repair 5%, 10%, 15% of the curb that's out there. From the standpoint of a funding source, we would look at the annual mill and overlay budget, which has typically been $600,000 the last few years. In addition to that, again, referencing the Grandview Drive project that we just completed here this summer from Vine to Laurel, that project had an original estimated budget of $717,000, and we've just finalized out those costs, and the final cost came in $535,000. So there's basically a $181,000 balance if you look at that specific project. And staff would like to see, or we would propose to reallocate that $181,000 towards our 2018 project. The remaining $116,000 to fund the entire project, we have a couple of different, I was talking with Brenda earlier today too, we have a couple of different sources to come up with that. The undesignated capital fund is one. We could allocate from our $130,000 street maintenance budget again, but that's our annual budget for crack filling, seal coat, those types of items. And again, talking with Brenda, there's a couple other potential places that would be a reallocation type of thing. One is our concrete sidewalk project has some funds remaining from last year, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brenda.
2017, this year.
Okay, this year. And I believe it's in the neighborhood of 50,000.
There's 50,000 remaining in the 2017, or 36,000 in the 2017 sidewalk budget, and then 14 from the 2016 mill and overlay. So we found 50,000, and we think we'll be able to identify the rest in the next couple months.
With that, also attached in your packet, we went ahead and had our engineering firm Bolton and Mink prepare a letter of engagement. As you can see, the attached Exhibit 1 gives a breakdown of the services or project scope, broken down into plan phase, construction phase, and also with a schedule. Again, what we're looking at there is a plan phase that is an hourly not to exceed. It's estimated that that hourly not to exceed would be $24,009. Construction phase, which we typically have done hourly, but it's an estimated number, and that is estimated at $81,200. And we also estimate call it an allowance for testing, and that's always done on a time and materials basis as well at $11,100. The total letter of engagement for those design and construction services would be $117,002. So with that, I guess if the Finance Committee and Council chooses this project, we would recommend approval of the letter of engagement with Bold and Mink in the estimated amount of $117,200, and also authorize preparation of plans and specifications. One thing I could say too, referring back to that Exhibit 1, is the schedule. Again, we are trying to do these projects a little bit earlier in the planning stages. By earlier, I mean typically fall, so we can get the design taken care of and have an early bid. As you can see, we're talking about a potential bid here right around the first week of February. So with that, I can take any questions.
Two questions and concerns, I guess. Is the fact that the study of Carmichael Road is included in something like this because of the traffic issues we're having on the intersection of Carmichael-Hanley? And public safety has had many issues in regards to crossing and traffic taming from Heritage across to the street to O'Neill. So I guess my first question is this going to take into account the study that's being done currently on what needs to happen as turn signals, turn lanes on Carmichael and Hanley?
Okay. This particular design effort would not include signal modifications at Carmichael and Hanley Road. If the study comes back and recommends something like that, or changes in turn lanes, that would be above and beyond what the scope of this particular letter of engagement is. This is pretty much looking at the condition and the surface condition of both the asphalt out there and then the curb. And again, in that first stretch from Carmichael Road up to O'Neill Road South, we have the same concrete curb item, or issue I should say, as we had on Grandview Drive. So that's kind of you could put that in as kind of a safety category as well. Relative to the PED crossing up there, I know there was a short discussion in the Public Works meeting about a pedestrian crossing up closer to the business park, and we were planning on evaluating that particular issue as part of this this design. But to get back to your initial question, if other improvements are recommended out of the corridor study, and again, whether it's signalization or something, that would not be included in this proposal.
Have you guys talked about turn lanes up there?
We did not talk about turn lanes. We did address the current need for a crosswalk across from the quarry entrance.
I guess, no, I'm talking about at Carmichael.
Yeah, no, we didn't mention that part of it. I don't know how extensive the turn lane potential would be. I guess we could ask somebody. But,
Well, they hate to fix it and then go rip it up after we just get the report done. So why don't we combine, or at least be aware of when that comes out?
I think what my recommendation would be from a timing perspective, I think, I don't know, Mike's here somewhere too, I think the Carmichael Road study is supposed to be wrapped up, I believe, by the end of the year, or maybe somewhere in that, from a time frame. At that time, we might know a little bit better of what the recommendation is or what's really gonna happen at Carmichael Road and Handley. At that time, we probably can do a couple different options. We can either modify this agreement to include, we need new signals or new cabinets or whatever the recommendation is. The other thing we could do, again, we were trying to get a jump on scheduling, bid the project early. We also want to bid this project early because another reason is we want to build this project early. Part of the existing DOT project out here on I-94, we've talked about various detours. We brought up the detour that's going to occur on Vine Street. As part of that project,
Going to occur or something been?
that's what I'm told by the DOT next summer, next construction season, 2018. That's part of the,
I hope we get to say something about that. We didn't stick $1 million in there for them to rip it up. Anyways, go on.
okay. Lost my train of thought now. Anyway, as part of that existing or that ongoing project on 94, they are gonna close ramps at exit, is it 3 that goes to River Falls? So they will actually be detouring traffic onto this segment of Hanley Road we're talking about next summer. So in preliminary discussions with the contractor and their subs, they are not anticipating that detour to occur in the early part of the summer. So we're trying to tell them they should use the latter part of the summer, and that's another reason why we are trying to shoot for this mill and overlay project to be pretty much done in May and June.
So
those 2
why would
months.
we do it then if they're gonna come and drive on it, use it as a,
Well, it's a detour, so there's about 10,000 vehicles plus or minus a day on Hanley Road right now. They've estimated that on, as part of that detour, it might increase 1,000 vehicles a day. It's 1,000 vehicles a day, I guess, when you look at a 10% increase on traffic volumes, and it's the similar type traffic that's on there now for a period of, I'm not exactly sure, but I think it's somewhere around 2 months. So for 10% additional traffic for a 2-month duration, I don't think that would impact the longevity of the entire street design.
I was just gonna say, so you're telling me that extra traffic isn't gonna rip up our new street we put in? And you guys are gonna guarantee that?
No, there's no guarantee in life. I have, as an engineer, I'm asked for a guarantee. You wouldn't believe it, a lot of times. And my response is always the same. If you can get a guarantee from your doctor or your lawyer, then we can talk about it. But, so I'm not sure if the guarantee you're talking about is on the pavement because they're gonna use it for 2 months.
Well, yeah.
Well, we're not just pulling this out of our hat, Randy. We have other competing projects that we're trying to get done at Vine Street. And then eventually, they are gonna fix 35 here, and we're trying to get those Vine Street and Hanley done before they start messing with downtown. And the 5-year plan, that's just kind of, this seems like it's gonna be okay. I guess, no, I can't guarantee it either, but we should factor in the interchange at Carmichael and Hanley. I do agree with that. I guess I hadn't really
I
just thought it was gonna be done so quickly, but
I just trying to look at it a common sense way and say, if we're gonna have all this traffic routed on our new streets, I mean, that to me doesn't make sense. We're paying the dime. It's a thought, think about it. You know, industrial needs it just as bad, industrial street.
So
one of
Tom, I'm sorry, were you gonna answer him?
go ahead. I can, but if we wait on either one of those streets, and they're also talking about a detour on Vine Street as well, because of the way this project, because of northbound traffic going on 35, they're shutting down the ramp at the end of 94 going downtown there. So all that traffic has to go that way for part of the summer. And so we're definitely not gonna do the rest of Vine Street this summer.
Why wouldn't we send them up Cooley Road?
Cooley
I
Road.
guess it's a different conversation to be had, but go up Cooley instead of our new Vine Street.
You want to send all that interstate traffic, well, technically it would go the same way, but for some reason they're not
To keep it
recommending
out
that
of
route.
our residence area, absolutely I would.
Tom, if we delay, what does it do to the cost and what does it do to the road?
Cost, and what was the second part?
the road. If we delay a year, what's the rating on, Pacer rating gonna be in this road?
Well, I mean, the road, it isn't a black and white answer, but what we're looking at right now, we've walked it and take a look at it with one of our consultants. We're in the realm right now where we feel a 2-inch mill and overlay would be a correct approach to maintenance on that roadway to get you a good road. If you wait, I'm not sure 1 year is gonna tip us over, so to speak, but the problem is if you wait some unknown period of years, eventually that 2-inch overlay approach is not gonna be good enough, or it's gonna warrant something more extensive than that. And typically, if you can't do mill and overlay, and especially because we gotta take the curb out of there, you're probably looking at a total reconstruct, which is substantially more money.
How much, generally? Twice as much?
Pardon?
It'd be twice as much?
I don't know, I would guess probably 40% more for sure, something like that. I mean, and again, it isn't black and white, you can't have a timer that says it's only gonna last 1 more year, or it's only gonna last 2 more years. Right now, it's in rough shape, the curb's in really rough shape, and a mill and overlay, we believe, from a staff perspective, is warranted. Maybe I can touch a little bit too on what John just said. We have been kind of juggling construction seasons for the last 2 or 3 years now. Staff recommendation from the standpoint of what is the priority and should we build or reconstruct right now, my answer would be the next segment of Hanley Road. We did that last year from First Street up to 9th, and now from 9th to Wisconsin Street is, pardon?
You mean Vine?
Excuse me, you're correct, Vine Street. So my recommendation would be to try to do Vine Street from 9th to Wisconsin. Well, last year, at this particular time, we were gonna think about that. We couldn't do that because the DOT project was supposed to be built this last summer, and they were gonna use Vine Street as a detour. In our discussions with the DOT staff, we felt that, and I'm not sure from a legal perspective, I think the city can say no to their detour. I'm not sure. I think you probably can. So, but
don't know either.
on the surface in our discussions, we thought that by taking that freeway traffic and putting it on Cooley Road up the hill and with the signals and all the businesses and the Target and the grocery store, that would not be from a safety kind of thing, the way to go on a detour. So what we did is, then we were looking at prioritizing the streets that we want to do. You mentioned Industrial Street and Dominion. They are also in terrible shape. If you recall some of the other discussions we've had in this setting and with the whole council, is the needs of streets vastly outweigh the amount of budget to correct them. So we're trying to prioritize what we want to reconstruct or what we want to have a mill and overlay. One of the things we looked at is traffic. 10,000 cars a day on Hanley, and I don't have a count on Industrial, for example, but I know it's nowhere near that. If you recall, we also had kind of that discussion in the early stages of Vine Street. We were talking about, well, why should we do Vine Street? Well, Vine Street's probably one of the only east-west corridor streets through town. It has about 7,000 or so traffic a day. That's going to get increased to 9 or 10, and I can't remember the exact year. But so one of the philosophies, and a lot of communities are doing this, is do you take your limited amount of funds and apply them towards the streets with the larger traffic volumes? Some communities say yes. We've kind of been, at least in Public Works, had that discussion, and we've been kind of leaning that way. Vine Street was 2 years ago. This year was Grandview Drive. Again, kind of your main corridor and a minor arterial type streets.
Well, correct me if
So
I'm
that's a little bit
wrong.
background too.
Let me interject, correct me if I'm wrong. Did we not approve the project from 9th to 12th of Vine Street to go in correlation with the high school's construction?
There was never an approval or a authorization to go ahead with specs and plans or anything.
So that was put on the side burner?
It's on the, actually, we're gonna do it next year. If you look at a little 5-year plan, that would be 2019.
Okay.
That's the intent
And I
anyway.
think-
So Hanley this year, Vine next year, and then get to some of these side streets that are in really bad shape, that don't have the volume, but at least now we've got our major arteries functioning the way we want them
And I
to.
think Tom, as Tom indicated, Vine got shuffled because they were supposed to do that project this year.
Well, I would definitely like to see city attorney look in to see whether we can reject their routes, because that, to me, no way. I mean, we just rebuilt that. And to get it out of, and I'm just telling you, my opinion, they should go up Cooley Road and all the way up that way in front of businesses, not in front of our houses or our high school. To me, it makes common sense. That's all I'll say on that.
You don't want them to see our brand-new high school?
No.
Well, I still, after doing a lot of homework on this and the city staff recommendation, I'm still gonna move to approve the letter of engagement. I really think we have the right choice here based on our 5-year.
I'll second
Cool.
that.
Tom, the timetable on this, so when do they intend to close down exit 3?
Well, I can only tell you what I've been told. Again, back to your point, Randy, we have basically lost 2 construction seasons if our intent was to do Vine Street. We did Grandview this year because we thought that was supposed to be, project was supposed to be let in March and construction was supposed to start right away about May or June. The construction project was not let till about July, and then we were informed that because it was let so late in the year, the closures on I-94 aren't gonna result in the detour until the following construction season. Well, by that time, we already had plans done in Grandview, so we kinda lost 2 construction seasons based on trying to coordinate some of this work with the DOT. So when we look at some of these other priorities, that's kinda where we're kinda juggling some of these things.
So,
If we want to just tell the DOT, we're doing Vine Street next year, I think at this time, we could get our consultant out there right away. It'd be a whole different project, obviously. We'd have a substantial amount of preliminary surveys to get done, but based on where we are in the year, I think we could still get that job done and bid it, I think we could probably bid it sometime early, maybe February, March, and we could go ahead and do that stretch of Vine Street. That said, there would be absolutely no way there'd be any DOT detour on Vine Street because we have sanitary sewer trenching, water main trenching, as well as, so it would be a project similar to Vine Street 2 years ago where we would build it in segments with road closures.
so once again, when do they schedule to close down exit 3?
The last word I had is their subcontractor did not have a specific date. So what I told them is we're leaning towards recommending Hanley Road get done. And I basically said that we were going to shoot for construction in May and June, and you can have the rest of the summer for your closure, because they did not have a date at that time.
So
And
what
that was it.
happens if we were to say, you go first, and we'll do Hanley when you're done? And even though, I get it, even though they may start later than what they may tell you, you just go ahead and do Hanley when you want, and what do they do?
Well, I mean, we could do that, and
So
but
what,
we
I
would
mean, they
be.
can't, obviously, if we're working on Hanley, if they say we're gonna start in May, and you say, fine, we're gonna start Hanley when you're done, and let's just say that's August, you start in August, and they don't start until August, what are you doing? You're shutting down Hanley Road, they don't have it as a detour, is that right?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't
Same
trust
thing
that,
also be true
that
about
line of
Vine?
thought because I haven't, this is all verbal, so we have had verbals and they've had many changes in their schedule to date.
I'm just asking, Tom, what happens if we are working on the road when they decide to come in and start their construction? And the same thing is for Vine Avenue. I mean, if we wanted to, let's say, thwart what they were doing in using our roads as detours, what if we decide to do the construction on those roads at the same time they're supposed to be coming in?
The biggest difference is Vine Street would be a total closure due to construction.
So-
Hanley
and-
Road is not a total closure. We are planning on doing that road half at a time.
So what you're saying then is we just create a traffic problem if that's what if,
Again, our estimate is received from the DOT, 1,000 cars a day would be additional to the 10,000 plus cars a day that are on there now.
Okay.
And I've had discussions with our consultant, and we feel the difference between 10,000 cars a day and 11,000 cars a day is still doable and still to do our project half at a time.
Okay, and then, so let's go to Vine. If we were to decide that we're gonna do construction on Vine Street at the same time that they wanna do a detour down there, they have to do something different, right?
I assume they're gonna have to use Cooley Road, because I don't know if, it's either Cooley Road or they'll have to take people from Highway 12 somewhere else. But yes, they would have to do something different.
Like County Trunk A or.
Okay.
To your point, that's true. Just FYI, the Vine Street budget is, what was that, 1.1 million, or it's quite a bit more money, yeah.
I don't know.
Which is fine, because we still want to do it, however.
Gotta be done.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of when we're
So
gonna budget.
I see your point. I mean, we could just do Vine and then they can't use it as a detour and then we're kind of done with that, so.
All right, so,
A couple other budget questions that would show up with Vine is, that would, Kip here?
well.
Kip would have to also budget next year for
That,
water main.
that's for public safety to figure, or public works to figure out. Sorry, Randy. Well, you probably like it over there.
He doesn't have a budget. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you
All I'm
know,
saying is about 200 and some thousand of that budget was water main replacement, and the sanitary sewer, I don't think we've estimated yet, so I'm guessing another 100+ thousand. So there's two budget items that have to come from
1.4
the
maybe.
utility department.
All right,
It would be nice if it was done. I totally agree. I think we were partly looking at budget impact because it was quite a bit more. We'd had some carryover from the Grandview project, and this one has a shorter window. We could get it done in 2.5 months, not all summer. So it's not a reconstruct, it was a mill and overlay, I think. I don't know, those are the kind of things we're thinking
you
about.
understand where we're going with
Yeah,
this. You
totally.
can deal with that in your committee. I want to add that congratulations on a job well done on Grandview.
Thank you.
Did a great job, and especially coming in under budget. Certainly, as people of the city are happy, the people of Stone Pine are very ecstatic and appreciative. So, nice job, and thank you for that. I do have one question also, and this probably goes to Public Works side as well, there's a lot of, there are a lot of accidents on the corner of Maxwell and Hanley. Is anybody looking at that as you go up that to work on the road?
No, again, this type of project is pretty much a maintenance, mill and overlay type project. We're not looking at adding lanes. Again, I was not aware there's a lot of accidents at Maxwell, I guess, but, and then we've talked about the corridor study on Carmichael is not done yet as well.
Okay, that's just a question. Again, John, something to think about.
Well, I did make a motion, however, I could withdraw my motion and add Vine Street.
If we delayed for 2 weeks so we can sort this out, that's not going to affect the schedule
No.
drastically.
No, but if you land on Vine Street as a project, 2 weeks is not going to change anything, but.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
but we'll know if Hanley is not the project, maybe Vine Street will be.
You want
Yeah, you want, we
Kathy
need
to
to
check.
find out what the,
Yeah, but if we
is on
can
detour.
say no to their detour.
Yeah.
Because if we can't, then that answers the
Right.
question.
Unless, of course, we have construction going on at the time.
Well, is that the way you want to do it, intentionally, knowing?
Well, if it was up to Randy, yeah, so I'm gonna withdraw I'm kidding, Randy. I'll withdraw my motion and wait 2 weeks.
just postpone it till we get
Postpone,
some
yeah.
answers. on
Okay.
The detour.
And I guess we need numbers on Vine Street. That's a potential.
Sorry. Can you get those in 2 weeks?
Yeah, we have an estimate now.
Well, I have an estimate that I did, it's probably a year old or so, but I could revisit that in the next 2 weeks.
How much was
Yes.
it, 1.3?
just mind you, I don't have opposition to doing Hanley. I just want to make sure we're doing this with a common sense approach. And I'm not saying you're not trying, but we got to look at it at every angle. And if we got a study going that can help do the one end of that, let's wait. And if if we can't do anything, we'll go from there.
It's a good point, and the other thing to factor in is that there's a much longer break next summer at the high school because they're finishing up their project. So timing-wise, it would actually be better to do Vine Street, so. We did talk about that too, we were just trying to look at the money and things like that, so. We'll wait 2 weeks.
Okay? Everybody good? Thanks, Tom.
Okay, thank you.
Discussion and possible action on new portable radios. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What I'm requesting is to purchase 8 new portable radios at $7,240. The money is still, we still have about $12,600 still left over from our capital outlay from purchasing our mobile radios for our squad cars. It came under much less than we anticipated. And these 8 portables will be used for our part-time officers and our spares as well. They don't have digital capable radios, so that's why we need to purchase these 8 new ones.
I presume these are compatible with the county's new
Yes, it is.
communication system?
Yes.
Okay.
With this purchase, does it bring you up to speed with radios?
Correct, it will. The reason we didn't purchase the portable radios 2 years ago when we purchased the ones for the full-time officers is that we weren't anticipating going digital for quite some time, so we were trying to save some of that money. The radios were still compatible, but when the county decided we're going to pick up a digital channel, that made these portable radios obsolete. So that's why we had to go through. What helped us out here tremendously is that the bid from Professional Wireless came $9,000 under what we projected it would be, so that saved us extra money that we could go and purchase these radios.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve, discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Discussion possible action on wastewater budget adjustment. Kip?
Good evening. I guess as long as we're talking about budgets, just if the discussion that you had, I completely understand that. Just bear in mind that changing a project this late in the game, I guess, is really going to affect my budget, especially if we go with a Vine Street. We were not planning on having any work on Hanley for water and wastewater, minor adjustments and things like that. But if we do go to Vine Street, we're looking at major upgrades that need to be done on that. So please just keep that in mind. What I'm here for tonight is just a budget adjustment. We have discussed in the past about the sanitary collection system, the wastewater treatment plant, upgrades for capacity reasons, things of that nature. We're getting to the point down at the wastewater treatment plant and in our capacity system that we're pretty much running out of room. We're almost full, I guess is the easiest way to look at it down there. So what the study before you is, I brought this to you before I brought it to the Utility Commission. It's about a $90,000 study. $35,000 of it would be this year yet to get it started, and then the additional would be in the 2018 budget. What this is going to look at is the entire collection system, capacity-wise, our trunk system, how we move wastewater from point A to point B down to the plant. With any future expansions that the city wants to do in the industrial park, any housing developments, if you do plan on at some point going outside our borders, if annexation happens, things of that nature, before that can happen, we need to know if the system can handle it. If the system can't handle it, we can't take customers. You know, it's just that simple. So basically what this study is, it coordinates with a current study that we are doing down at the wastewater treatment plant, which gives us a report card of the plant, tells us, you know, what's going on down there. That plant is roughly about 25 years old, so we know that there's going to be major improvements that are going to be needed down there. Even without expansion, we do need the improvements. We all, I believe, are well aware of that. But what this study is it's the collection system. It's going to look at our borders. It's going to look outside our borders. What do we have to do to continue to operate or expand, you know, anything?
Where do
like
the
I
funds
said.
come from, Kip?
The funding is basically this year, Brenda and I, we kind of went back and looked. We didn't do a whole lot of research on it yet. We do have accounts that there's money in yet that we can kind of just allocate from one account to another and things like that. So it's not an actual amendment to the budget, it's just an adjustment. So we'd just be taking some money out of like vehicle accounts. We had, I don't know, like $10,000 left in there from the purchase of vehicles this year. That money can be moved into this study and things of that nature, so.
Okay. Motion?
And next year?
Well, next year we're gonna have to budget for it, and I guess my budget's almost done, so we'll have to figure it out. I mean, we can figure it out. That's not a question, but
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Thanks, Kip. Discussion and possible action on document imaging system. Jen?
So we are recommending the purchase of, that's called Canon. It's from the Therefore system. It's a document imaging system. We are recommending that purchase with money that was allocated in the capital funds, reserving remaining funds for purchase of additional licenses as needed. 3 quotes were solicited from different vendors. They all allow for cloud storage and retrieval. They're transferable to other systems. They allow for both PDF and TIFF formats. I think it's something that's been budgeted for a while, and the city has not moved forward with it, so I think it's time for us to put some kind of document imaging, records management system in place.
Okay.
I will move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. A discussion and possible action on proposed inclusion resolution. So,
Well, it's here, but I would like to move that we have no recommendation out of finance. And I would also like to move, well, I'm just telling you what I'm gonna do. Move that we have city council, or city attorney draft a policy.
Either, yeah, rules for the council or policy on these types of
Resolutions
proposed resolutions.
that don't directly affect the city's business. And so I would like to make that motion to direct city attorney to make some type of verbiage, ordinance, policy, whatever you want to call it, bring it back to here so we can see what it is.
So you have 2 parts to your motion.
Well,
Do
the
you want
first-
to break them up, or do you want to?
Yeah, I think you should. I mean, I think what Randy's getting at is, well, just what he said, a policy on, for the council to review finance at the next meeting in council on how to handle these resolutions, or whether to accept resolutions for consideration that don't pertain to specific, this is just thinking out loud and trying to put words together, but to specific responsibilities and authorities the city has under Wisconsin law. So that I think you're trying to focus your efforts on what you're specifically authorized to do under Wisconsin law as a city council.
It's sort of the nature of the definition, though. A resolution is a formal expression of opinion, will, or intent voted on by an official body or assembled group. So it's sort of it's not an ordinance, so, and, you know, we could probably resolve on most things. I kind of get what you're saying, but is there like a formal process you're looking for, or are you
More
saying
so
you won't hear any
like guidelines
resolutions?
so that
or-
if,
It's guidelines, because if we go down this road, we're gonna end up being the city council of resolutions, and I'm not interested in doing that. If it doesn't directly affect the council's authority under the Wisconsin statute of our ability to govern, I don't want to start doing resolutions. Otherwise, we're gonna have exactly what's starting to happen. I don't want to be in the business of doing resolutions after resolutions after resolutions after resolutions, plain and simple.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, so your first motion is not to recommend, what, approval of this?
Correct.
I'll second that.
Not to recommend approval of the inclusion
Or
resolution, is that?
getting this inclusion,
Okay, I just wanted it to be clear, to
Yeah, there's
deny
two
or
separate
disapprove.
motions.
Yeah.
My intent, the first one being, yes, I am moving to recommend no recommendation from this finance committee to the full council.
second that.
okay, we got a motion, a second. Everybody understand what it is?
No recommendation. Is that what you just said?
Yes.
But, so you're not suggesting that we move it to the full council?
Move it to council with no recommendation.
Yes.
Really?
So you're not saying deny approval of the proposed resolution? That's not what you're saying?
I think the
in
full
your
body
motion.
could have their say on it.
If you're looking for guidance from council as to how to approach these resolutions,
That's the second one.
then I would suggest that we keep this here for now until we get that language and have a chance to look at it. I mean, the charge to this committee, my charge to this committee was to look at the language of this and to see how it impacts financially the city. I personally am not in favor of moving this onto the council unless or until we have a chance to look at that fiscal implication.
Well,
Number one, and then number two, given what you the second part of your motion or your second motion,
Right.
if we're gonna have some type of language that might preclude any type of discussion of any resolutions like this, I guess I would prefer to see that come before any vote on any resolutions that we have before us right now.
That makes sense.
I will withdraw that. Would you prefer to postpone?
Pardon me?
Postpone?
Sure.
Postpone the inclusion resolution conversation. I move to have city attorney draft policies in regard to accepting or denying resolutions under the state of Wisconsin's authority of the municipal council's
Okay,
government.
so you seconded the motion, are you,
That's fine. I'll withdraw the second to the first motion, second the second motion.
okay?
But can we really limit resolutions? You know, I did a lot of homework today trying to get my head around ordinances versus resolutions, and this statement kind of struck me. The policy or position expressed in a resolution is generally considered to have a limited duration because it can be changed at any time by a single vote of council. So is that true? And then also policies that we have, policy can be changed as well. So, and I appreciate the fact that we, because
You should have been here last meeting.
I apologize, I was out of town, but,
A couple comments on resolutions. They are gray. I mean, there's some resolutions that are absolutely enforceable, like our special assessments are done by resolution.
indeed, yeah.
Our bond approvals, there has to be a resolution from the council approving that. So, and that is a legally enforceable document. So it's not as clear cut. I think what these types of more policy statements that aren't addressed to specific authorities that the council is given, council as a city council in terms of governing the city, I think you can, as a council, adopt procedures on whether you want to accept and take council time with those types of resolutions. There is, just so you know, there is a procedure for citizen-initiated legislation under the statute. It's a petition procedure. So it's not foreclosing anyone from submitting something like that, but then there's a specific procedure. They have to have a specific number of people signing a petition, so then when it does come to the council, you know this is something that has significant backing. And you can't do anything about that. So
Okay.
we're not talking about limiting that.
All right.
We're talking about limiting these other types of resolutions.
Perfectly clear.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second. Discussion? Further discussion?
So we'll get,
I'll get
Or is it-
language,
okay.
yeah, and I haven't looked into it any more than what we've just discussed, but the idea is to have some language that you can look at and then make a decision.
Do you think this issue has come up in other cities in Wisconsin?
Well, I have had discussions with the league on it. They haven't provided me, I mean, I've asked for any samples, but I will ask again.
well,
And I can put it out, we have a city attorney's listserv,
I ran into.
and that may be a better source.
Minnesota League of Municipalities had roughly 60 resolutions because the state legislature was trying to make some changes to local authorities. So they had a lot of that going on in terms of which doesn't apply to assessments and things like that. So there are some states that have had some of this going on lately, but it's not exactly widespread, I don't think, so.
Well, and you, I mean, just to refresh your memory, you have looked at resolutions and actually dealt with them when they address specific issues that the city has authority over, such as the taxation, the dark store taxation. There was proposed legislation on that, and I think you did consider a resolution that recommended approval of that legislation. So that directly impacts something the city is in charge of in terms of taxation of property within its borders.
You will have something by the next meeting?
Well, yes, I'll try it. I'll do my best to have that.
Well, it won't do any good to put it on the agenda unless we have that.
Oh, yes, you can, I mean, we'll
I'll
shoot
coordinate
for
with
that, but we'll talk, and if I don't have it, we won't put it on the agenda.
Okay.
But that would be my goal.
Anything else?
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Anything for future agendas?
Just a reminder that our plan is to meet at 5 o'clock on the 16th to do the budget stuff. You know, and I'll put that first and then put so that hopefully we can get at least, get a chunk of it done so that I can get my publication. And like you said, you can make budget changes right up until the night of the hearing, so. But we'll plan on that since it was having trouble getting a night that worked for everybody, so.
5 PM on the 16th.
16th, yep. And then it'll just be the full 2 hours for the meeting then.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. We stand adjourned. Thank you.